One, two, three, four.
In this tutorial, we're going to make this monster truck. Here I've got my car. It is broken down into layers. There are wheels. There is the body of the car. Here we have a layer that goes behind the bodywork. These are parts of the bodywork. These are shock absorber elements that we're going to reproduce. And then the last wheel, so there you go. We are going to reproduce this car, and especially, I would like to reproduce everything that is shock absorber. We are going to rig all that, and then we will also simulate the shock absorbers moving. Let's go. So here, I've imported my elements in a 1920 by 1080 HD composition at 30 frames per second. I've already traced a shape layer that defines my floor, which is, as you can see, uneven ground. And then I've already brought in my layers, which are there in order, so my wheels above the body of my car. And then these two layers behind which I'm using mainly as markers to place null objects, so that we can simulate the suspensions. So we're going to apply the masks to my wheels right away, like in the previous tutorial. We're also going to cut the bodywork so that in Newton, we have something that looks like what we saw earlier. We'll also apply labels to my layers. Purple for the wheels, blue for the body, that's hidden. And the floor, we're going to put it in brown. We're going to add a few elements because I'd like to simulate all these suspensions. So we're going to add null objects at the ends of my suspensions to be able to simulate these suspensions in Newton. We'll call it S1 and then duplicate it as we go along. Some will make joints between here and our wheel axle. And then there are others that will be joints with the car body. So I forgot to hide the rear. I launch Newton. The first thing to do is that all my null objects are interpreted in Newton as dead. But these are going to be dynamic objects. These objects must not collide with the rest. So I'm going to take them out of group A. Since all the objects are in collision group A, and if I remove these objects from collision group A, they won't collide, for example with the wheels, but especially with the bodywork. We'll set our floor in static. We'll also continue our floor with a composition wall. We're going to increase the gravity to 30. I'm going to set the sub-steps to 15. I'm going to set my background to black because that way we'll be able to see a little better. These items mostly are items that we'll consider as bodywork. They need to be welded to my bodywork. I'll select them and apply a wheel joint each time. So these are the ones. Then we'll start applying wheel joints. As a reminder, you need to select the body, then the wheel. So I'll start with these. You'll see it'll be more practical later to adjust certain things. I'm going to hide the body for now. I think that's about it. We're also going to have some shock absorbers here, but this time I'm going to reverse the direction. Next, these two objects, they're welded. So I apply a weld joint. What do they have to do? They have to go up and down, so I have to weld them to my body. And to do that, I'll just select one, since now both are welded, and I'll select my body, and I can select with the bodies list. I'm going to put a piston This piston, I need to put it upright. These objects are also part of my body. I'll select this one. Body, weld, and this one and my body, weld. So that means it's all cushioned. This one's going to go up and down, but it's going to be cushioned. And above all, in fact, it's constrained in only one direction. So I'm going to be able to display this object too. I'll have to remove it from group A. First, we'll take these joints. And we'll start by increasing the suspension. There, it's starting to come together. Now my car's standing up, which isn't bad. We'll also take the first two because they'll need to be stiffened. It's a little less all over the place. And I'll continue. I'm going to make them stiffer. There. Maybe too much. More flexibility, more fun. And we'll add some damping because right now it's all over the place. I wanted to come back to these two. I think they need to be stiffer and have more damping. Maybe a little bit more. We're going to select these two joints and activate the motor. We're going to use a motor with a speed of 10 and a lot of torque. Don't forget to take our wheels and greatly increase friction. And what do we get? Whoa, I've got a car that goes off at top speed. There are things happening. Maybe we need to increase the substeps a bit. Okay, cool, so it works. I'll take back my two joints. Those ones. And lower the torque. Yeah. Yeah, that's much better. Maybe we could have even spun the wheels a little slower. There, it works. As you saw earlier, when I had the substeps at 15, there wasn't enough precision. The result? I don't know if this will do it, but in fact, my scene literally exploded. These things happen. You can see that it lacks rigidity and so on. Whereas if I go up to 20 in substeps, I have a scene that's more precise and that's stiffer too. Cool. So I think the simulation is really nice. I'm going to animate the motor speed to simulate engine acceleration. We'll do it right away. At frame 60, the speed is at 0, and at frame 90, it's at 7, and we'll put an ease out. This way, the motor accelerates progressively. Let's see what happens. There it goes, and it rolls. So cool. Yes. One thing I'd like to add is a little wiggly antenna. I'm going to go back into After Effects and create a null object. Or rather, null objects. I'm going to put the base here. I'm going to call it A1 as an antenna. and I'll arrange 3 of them in an arc, and afterwards I'll connect these objects with our Connect Layers Pro tool, which will create the antenna. I'll change the label to fuchsia, for example. Then I'll relaunch Newton. These are dynamic objects. We're going to link these objects with a weld joint. And these objects are also linked with a weld joint. I need to modify the axes of the weld joints. So what's the result? You can see it's rigid, that's normal. I'll lower the tension. In fact, I'll increase the tension. That's not true, because when it's at 0, the tension is automatic and it's very rigid. If I increase it a little, it becomes all relaxed. So in fact, I'm going to increase it to regain rigidity. Now it's starting to look like something. I made a mistake. I also selected the one between the body of my car and the base of the antenna. Don't touch that one. It has to be rigid. Now I've got an antenna that looks like something. Wow, it's going every which way. I think I need to increase the rigidity a little more. What does it look like? Let's put some damping on it. Maybe 3 should be enough. It needs to be a little softer. We can take the second part and give it a bit more flexibility. It'll be more realistic. Then maybe, on the other hand, the base should move a little less. But that's not bad. Maybe I need to use more damping. That's better. Okay, come on, it's good like that. In a relatively short time, I've rigged my car. There are quite a few elements that interact in the simulation, and we're going to export them right away to see the result in After Effects. So now Newton renders, and now I've got this. We're going to remove the mask here. So we find all our elements, and then we'll trace the antenna. So I said I was using Connect Layers Pro. It's drawn. However, I'm going to put them in Auto Bezier. That way I'll have a curve. Cool. Okay, so for the suspensions, well, it's kind of the same. I'll use Connect Layers Pro. I'll draw the first suspension with Connect Layers Pro. Then I'll put all these suspensions on the same layer, so they're all grouped together. It'll be easier if I want to change the size or color. So for that, the little plus button, I reload. I select Chain 2. Since this is the second one I've created, I select my elements again, and there you see, it's added. Every time, I will have a new chain to my layer again. This chain goes to the very bottom of my list. Behind the body, I can increase the thickness a little. And that's it. I'm making some big shock absorbers. Change the color a bit. And now, what does it look like? Well, it's all articulated. I pre-composed this composition. The first part is quite dynamic. It's fun. You can see the shock absorbers moving. There's also the antenna, and so on. The animation is super realistic. Now we're going to add the springs for our shock absorbers. For this, my partner Nab has prepared this element that simulates the springs. All it needs is 2 reference layers, and then he'll create the spring in the middle. He's going to squeeze through the center, note that it will be available as a downloadable link in the description, so I'll just copy and paste it. I'll put it there in my composition. Right above my frame. And now I just need to choose the layers that will control these objects. Layer B will always be the rear wheel, and then we will select S1. And there you go. You can see my spring. I'm going to slightly modify the offset. So that it's clearly visible, and then I'll simply duplicate. There's an element missing here. I'll create it. I'm not a very big car fan, so I'm sorry I don't know much about mechanics and so on. I just did what I saw. But don't hesitate to share your mechanical knowledge with us. So that's about it. What's the final result? You can see the compression of the springs. Well, that's it for this animation. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. Don't hesitate to react, and there are other tutorials I invite you to consult to continue learning techniques with Newton. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.